the number of breaths that you breathe. There are many paths to Allah, but there is a need for peaceful coexistence between all of you. He then states that his greatest victory, while he is a prophet of God, after Badr he fought in Uhud. He said that wasn't the greatest victory. He fought in Khandaq. It wasn't the greatest victory. He fought in Khaybar, Tabuk, Hunayn, battle after battle after battle. None of them was his greatest victory. The Quran said, "Inna fatahna laka fathan mubina," after the success of the Hudaybiyah peace treaty. Because that Hudaybiyah treaty was the moment either you depict the Holy Prophet as a man who spread the religion by the sword, or a man who was looking for other means. Do you know why? Because when he saw in his dream that him and his companions have to go to Mecca, he took 1,400 of his companions towards Mecca. He told his companions, "We are not going to fight." One of them looked at him. He said to him, "What do you mean we're not going to fight? We are so powerful now, and you're telling us we're not going to fight?" Another one actually was willing to question his prophethood that day. Whereas what you find is that the Prophet said, "No, I don't want you to bring your swords with you. I want you to go there, and I want us to find a way of finding peace." When you saw Bilal tortured, shouldn't it build a hatred in you? When you saw Yasir and Sumayya killed, shouldn't it build a hatred in you? When you saw Abu Talib and Khadija give their life away, shouldn't it build a hatred in you? Surely you wouldn't go back to Mecca with peace. Surely you'd look for each one of Abu Sufyan. You'd look for Walid ibn al-Mughira. You'd look for Utbah ibn Rabi'ah. You'd look for them one by one. You'd want to finish them. On the contrary, I go back there and I want a treaty of peace. Even the Meccans themselves sent a couple of envoys to him. Urwa ibn Mas'ud al-Thaqafi, the great-grandfather of Ali al-Akbar, the son of Imam Hussein. Urwa ibn Mas'ud al-Thaqafi has an interesting narration. He states that the Arabs sent me as an envoy in Hudaybiyah. He had a funny way of saying Salaam Alaikum. Normally when you say Salaam Alaikum to someone, you shake their hands, don't you? With Urwa bin Mas'ud Thaqafi's tribe, they used to pull your beard and put their knee in your lap. So it was an unorthodox way of saying Salaam Alaikum. He said that I reached the Holy Prophet. When I reached him, I pulled his beard. And I said to Muhammad, "Listen, we have to make an agreement here. Why have you come?" He said, "I saw this man had not come to fight. He'd come for peace. He had the chance to gain revenge, yet he didn't look at any of us with the aim of gaining revenge." He said, "I saw his companions when he would be performing his wudu. They jumped for the water that would come from his wudu." He said, "I went back to my tribe and I said to them, this man, we tortured him for years in Mecca. But now would you believe he doesn't want to attack us? He wants to find a treaty with us." And that Hudaybiyah treaty, part of the terms was what? Part of the terms of the Hudaybiyah treaty, there will be 10 years of peace. And this is a very important point, because I will go back to what Leslie said about the verses of the sword in a moment. Part of the Hudaybiyah treaty said what? It said there will be 10 years of peace between the Muslims and the Meccans. That the Muslims will not attack the Meccans and the Meccans will not attack the Muslims. And that the Muslims will be allowed to go back to Mecca to visit Mecca again. The reason the Prophet signed the Hudaybiyah treaty, what was it? He knew that, number one, if I could get my people to go back to their parents who they haven't seen for years, and to go and speak with them, then they may remove the misconceptions that have been built in these years about my character. Because if you go in with a sword, people straight away say, "I told you, Muhammad, that's his character." If, however, your son comes back after you've not seen him for years while he's been in Medina, and he says to you, "Mom, did you know the Holy Prophet said heaven lies underneath your feet?" Do you know how much of a message that has? That has an impact. That has an impact which is greater than any sword's impact will have. Because that hadith is a sword in itself through the heart of a human being. And so what do you find? You find that that Hudaybiyah treaty, the Prophet on the second level wanted to expose these people. To say that, look at me, how many times have I made treaties with them? And watch them again, they're going to break the treaty again. Whenever we offer them peace, watch they'll break it. That's why that verse was CNN and Fox used continuously. Surah 9, verse 5. If ever you want to see Fox and what makes their day, you find that that particular verse, فَقْتُلُوا الْمُشْرِكِينَ حَيْثُ وَجَدْتُمُوهُمْ. They get someone with a deep voice. But that's, I have anything to do with that media, but they get someone with that voice, فَقْتُلُوا الْمُشْرِكِينَ حَيْثُ وَجَدْتُمُوهُمْ وَخُذُوهُمْ وَاحْصُرُوهُمْ. You know that type of... kill the disbelievers wherever you see them, and slay them and surround them. And for us as Muslims, it's vital that we understand that let's not beat around the bush. I know a lot of people want to come with the diplomatic talk that we're peaceful people and loving and so on. There are a few harsh verses in the Quran. But harsh in which way? If they're taken out of context. Because verse 4 and verse 6, nobody ever narrates them on Fox. They're straight to verse 5. Okay, so what's verse 4? There is no verse 4, it just jumped to verse 5. No, tell me verse 4, I want to hear verse 4. Verse 4 says, we'll give you 4 months to try and ask for forgiveness for what you've done. Because you've got to be some arrogant individual for 4 months and you're still like, so we killed one of your tribes, what are you going to do about it? Sure. Because when you've got them killing the Banu Bakr, killing the Banu Khuza'ah, and still there's no remorse. But we made a 10-year peace treaty, we're not going to kill each other. No, we killed you. Okay, we'll give you 4 months. Think about it. In one ear, out of the other. Then what does verse 6 state? Verse 6, after kill the disbelievers wherever you see them. Verse 6 says, but if any of the polytheists come to ask you about Islam, then have open ears and teach them about Islam. Why? Because of the fact that some of them don't know about Islam. They've been given the wrong info. If you go and kill someone who doesn't know about Islam, it's not fair. Maybe if someone comes up to you and says, listen, I've heard things about you. But what you hear in the ears, as Imam al-Hasan used to say, there are 4 fingers between what's right and wrong, between the ears and eyes. What you hear in the ears must be verified by the eyes. I heard about you, but I want to see it in my own eyes. The Quran said, if any of them come and say that to you, listen to them. Open your ears for them. Notice how Fox sticks on verse 5, but doesn't show that on the contrary. Verse 5, its context is because a 10-year peace agreement has been broken by an ambush in the middle of the night in Mecca against innocent Muslims. And so then you find that this Holy Prophet establishes his state. When he establishes state, there are Christians. And the Christians are wondering, can we live in Muhammad's state? If this was a prophet who spread the religion by the sword, he would turn around to them and say, I'm sorry, your different theological opinions to ours means that there is no way that you can reside within our state. Whereas what does he do? He sees the Christians of Najran who come on the event of the Mubarak. They come and ask him, oh Muhammad, what's your opinion about Jesus? He says, we believe Jesus is a prophet of God. He asks them, what's your opinion about Jesus? They say, we believe he's the son of God. Why? Because he didn't have a father, so he must be the son of God. To which the Quran replied, إِنَّ مَثَلَ عِيسَى عِنْدَ اللَّهِ كَمَثَلِ آدَمَ. The example of Jesus in the eyes of God is in the similitude of Adam. Did Adam have a father? Did Adam have a mother? So who should be the son of God? When they disagreed with this, they said, we'll come to a mubahala. What's a mubahala? A mubahala is when you have so much confidence in your faith that you are willing to say, let God curse whoever's wrong. And whoever you take with you on that day, you need to make sure they are the top personalities of that religion. So the Quran set forward who should go. The Christians had their priests already. The Quran set forward Surah 3 verse 61. فَمَنْ حَاجَّكَ فِيهِ مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا جَاءَكَ مِنَ الْعِلْمِ فَقُلْ تَعَالَوْا نَدْعُ أَبْنَاءَنَا وَأَبْنَاءَكُمْ وَنِسَاءَنَا وَنِسَاءَكُمْ وَأَنفُسَنَا وَأَنفُسَكُمْ ثُمَّ نَبْتَهِلْ. The Quran said, we'll bring our sons, you bring your sons. We'll bring our woman, you bring your woman. We'll bring ourselves, you bring yourselves. The companions were all wondering, is it us, is it him, is it him? Who's going to be the one he takes as his sons? And his woman, and himself. As his sons, he takes Hassan and Hussein. And as his woman, he takes Fatima al-Zahra. And as himself, he takes the son of Abu Talib. Clearly, as himself, he goes towards that incident. When the head of the Christian priesthood looks at them, he turns round to his faith and he says to them, the amount of light that shines from these 5 faces, if it told a mountain to move, the mountain would move from its place. As soon as they said that, they said, Muhammad, we will not enter Mubahala, but we want to live in your state. He said, very well, of course you can live. Your place of worship is known as Ka'bat Najran. You know, we have a Kaaba, they have a Kaaba. Ka'bat Najran, your Ka'bat Najran is yours. People can come and visit. All I ask from you is one thing. What is it? He called Ali ibn Abi Talib. He said to him, Ali, come and write the treaty. Ali came. He said to him that they have to pay a jizya, a tax. Once they pay this tax in the state, then we as the Muslims are obliged to defend them from outside forces. They don't need to come out on the battlefield. A non-Muslim in your state, and you're obliged to defend him? If you're a man who spreads the religion by the sword, you should not have any idea for these people, nor any opinion for them. So he says, what's the tax? The Prophet says, in the month of Safar and the holy month of Ramadan, you give some clothing away towards the poor. When you do this, you live within the state in peace. And therefore he sought to build the state in this way. And that's why when you look at the caliphs after him, you'll find that the caliphs after him resonated this position as well. As in, those of you who've read Umar's document, Umar ibn al-Khattab's document, when they went into Jerusalem, where he welcomed the Christians to continue to worship in their churches. If you look at Ali ibn Abi Talib, while Ali ibn Abi Talib was Khalifa, you find Ali ibn Abi Talib on one occasion, a Christian took Ali ibn Abi Talib to court. The Khalifa of the Muslims is taken by a Christian to court. Why? Because Ali sees his shield, he says, that's mine. The Christian says, no, that's mine. When he takes him to court, the judge says, Ali, do you have your witnesses? He says, no. One narration says he had his sons, but the judge says, they can't be. He says to the Christian, very well, then you are the one who is allowed to have this case. You know when the Christian left the court, he stared at Ali ibn Abi Talib. Ali ibn Abi Talib turned around to him and said, why are you staring at me? What's wrong? He said to him, today I've seen God's justice on earth.